When my husband told me he was leaving, he didn't shout. He didn't slam the door. He didn't even sound angry. He just sat across from me at the kitchen table, folded his hands, and said quietly, "Eliana, I need a family, and you can't give me that." I remember nodding, not because I agreed, but because my body didn't know what else to do. The room felt very still. The clock on the wall kept ticking, loud and steady, like it was counting down something I couldn't stop. Outside, the sky was gray. It had been raining earlier, and the windows were still foggy. I had spent 12 years loving Brian Peter, 12 years believing that love was enough, 12 years praying, hoping, waiting, and blaming myself for something I could never control. When he stood up, picked up his coat, and walked toward the door, I didn't follow him. I didn't beg. I didn't cry. I just stayed there, sitting in the same chair, staring at the place where he had been sitting only seconds before. People think heartbreak is loud. They think it comes with screaming and tears. But sometimes heartbreak is very quiet. It's the sound of a door closing gently. It's the silence afterward. It's realizing that the person who promised to stay forever has already decided to go. That night, I slept alone in our bed. On my side, the sheets were neatly tucked. On his side, they were untouched. And for the first time in years, I placed my hand on my stomach, not in hope this time, but in surrender. I whispered, "I'm sorry." I didn't know then that life was not finished with me yet. I didn't know that the same woman he walked away from would one day return with a truth that would leave him speechless. My name is Eliana. I met Brian Peter when I was 27. He was kind, gentle, well-spoken. He held doors open. He remembered small details. He made me feel safe. When he asked me to marry him, he said, "We'll build a family together." At the time, I thought family meant love. I didn't know he meant something very specific. The first year of marriage was peaceful. We traveled a little, we cooked together, we laughed easily. When people asked about children, Brian would smile and say, "Soon." I smiled too, even when the questions started hurting. By the third year, the doctor visits began. Tests, waiting rooms, soft voices, white walls. Sometimes it just takes time, they said. By the 6th year, the silence in the car rides home became heavier. Brian stopped holding my hand. By the 9th year, his patience began to thin, not openly, just quietly. He would say things like, "I just thought my life would look different by now." Or, "My parents keep asking." I carried the guilt like a stone in my chest, even though the doctors said it wasn't my fault, even though no one was to blame. Still, I apologized. I apologized for something my body couldn't do. I apologized for not being enough. The night he left, he didn't call me cruel names. He didn't accuse me. That almost hurt more. He said, "You're a good woman, Eliana, but I need more." And then he was gone. After Brian left, the house felt larger than it ever had before. Not because it changed, but because I was suddenly alone inside it. The mornings were the hardest. I would wake up automatically at 6, like I always had. For years, my body had learned Brian's routine, his alarm, his footsteps, the sound of the shower. But now, there was only silence. I would lie there, staring at the ceiling, listening to nothing. Sometimes I stayed in bed longer than I should have, not because I was tired, but because getting up meant accepting that my life had changed. I stopped cooking full meals. One plate felt lonely on the table. I eat simple things. Toast, soup, tea. Friends called at first. They said things like, "You'll be okay," or "You're still young." They meant well, but none of them understood the quiet shame that settled in my chest, because when a marriage ends like that, people don't ask what happened, they assume. And every time someone asked, "Do you have children?" I felt the wound reopen. I answered politely, "No." But inside, the word echoed. Weeks turned into months. I learned how to move through the world as a single woman again. I changed my routines. I avoided places that reminded of us. I packed his clothes into boxes slowly, carefully, like I was touching memories instead of fabric. I didn't rush. I didn't cry much either. Grief doesn't always come as tears. Sometimes it comes as numbness. I found a smaller apartment closer to my work. It had one bedroom, a small kitchen, and a window that faced the morning sun. I told myself it was a fresh start. But at night, when everything was quiet, my thoughts grew loud. I kept asking myself the same question: was I really not enough? About a year after the divorce, I heard through someone else that Brian had remarried. I wasn't told directly. I saw it online. A photo appeared on my screen one evening, Brian standing beside a younger woman, his hand resting proudly on her waist. They were smiling. The caption read, "New Beginnings." I stared at that picture for a long time. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel jealousy. I felt replaceable, as if all the years we spent together had been erased, as if my value had been tied to something I never had control over. I closed the app and sat quietly on my couch. That night, I cried for the first time in months. Not because he moved on, but because I finally allowed myself to mourn the life I lost. Life has a strange way of continuing, even when we feel broken. One afternoon, a colleague invited me to volunteer at a local community center. They helped women and children who were struggling, families in transition, people starting over. At first, I hesitated. I didn't feel strong enough to help anyone, but something inside me said yes. The first day I walked into that center, the sound of children's laughter filled the room. Small voices, running footsteps, soft chaos. My chest tightened. I almost turned around and left, but then I saw two little faces peeking at me from behind a table, a boy and a girl. Both had dark eyes and curious expressions. They were quiet, watching. The coordinator whispered to me, "They're twins, temporary placement. Their mother passed away. No other family stepped forward." Something in my heart shifted. I didn't rush toward them. I didn't smile too big. I just sat down nearby. The girl walked over first. She held my finger with her tiny hand. That simple touch, it broke something open inside me. I began volunteering regularly. The twins, Emma and Lucas, grew comfortable around me. They followed me quietly. They liked sitting beside me during story time. I didn't think much of it at first. I told myself, don't imagine things, don't hope. But hope has a way of finding cracks in even the most guarded hearts. One day, Lucas asked softly, "Are you coming back tomorrow?" I nodded. Yes. He smiled. That smile stayed with me all night. Weeks later, the coordinator pulled me aside. "You have a calming presence," she said gently. "They trust you." I felt my throat tighten. She hesitated before asking, "Have you considered fostering?" The word lingered in the air. Fostering. I went home that day with my heart racing, fear and excitement tangled together. That night, I sat by my window, watching the city lights flicker. I placed my hand on my chest, feeling my heartbeat. I thought of Brian's words, "You can't give me a family." I whispered to myself, maybe family doesn't come the way we expect. The process wasn't easy. Paperwork, interviews, home visits. Every question felt like a test of my worth. They asked, "Why do you want to foster?" I answered honestly, "Because I have love to give." They asked about my past, my marriage, my infertility. I didn't hide anything. And somehow, that
honesty became my strength. Months later, I received the call. Emma and Lucas would be placed with me. I sat on the floor and cried quietly, not from pain this time, but from gratitude. The first night they stayed with me, I barely slept. I checked on them again and again, listening to their breathing, making sure they were safe. In the morning, they sat at my small kitchen table, swinging their legs. They waited patiently as I made breakfast. Emma looked at me and said, "Good morning." 2 simple words, but they filled my entire heart.
The twins stayed with me longer than anyone expected. At first, it was supposed to be temporary, a few weeks, maybe a couple of months, but weeks turned into seasons. Emma and Lucas settled into my home like they had always belonged there. They learned where the cups were kept. They knew which chair was theirs at the table. They slept peacefully, without fear, without waking up crying. And slowly, so did I. I began to notice changes in myself. I woke up with purpose. I cooked real meals again. The house felt alive. Not loud, not chaotic, just warm. Even with all the joy, fear followed quietly behind it. I was afraid to hope too much. Every time someone from the agency called, my stomach tightened. I worried they would say, "They're being moved." I never said this fear out loud. Not to friends, not to myself. At night, after the twins fell asleep, I would sit on the couch in the dim light and listen to the sound of their breathing from the hallway. I told myself, love them gently, don't cling. But love doesn't work that way. It happened on a quiet afternoon. I was at the grocery store, choosing apples, when I heard my name. Eliana? I froze. I didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Brian Peter. I took a slow breath before facing him. He looked older, tired, still familiar. Eliana, he said again, softer this time. I didn't expect to see you. I nodded politely. Hello, Brian. He glanced at my cart. Children's cereal, juice boxes, crackers. His eyes lingered there longer than necessary. I didn't know you had... He stopped himself. I didn't explain. I should go, I said calmly. As I walked away, my hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the strange feeling of being seen again by someone who once decided I was not enough. A week later, the agency called me in for a meeting. I sat in the familiar office, my hands folded neatly in my lap. The woman across from me smiled gently. Eliana, she said, we need to talk about long-term plans. My heart raced. They've bonded deeply with you. You've provided stability, safety, and care. I swallowed. We would like to discuss permanent adoption. The words felt unreal. Permanent adoption. For a moment, I couldn't speak. Tears filled my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. Yes, I whispered. Yes, I want that. The process took time. More visits, more questions, more waiting. But this time, the waiting felt different. It felt hopeful. Emma and Lucas didn't fully understand what adoption meant, but they understood something important. They understood staying. One evening, Emma looked at me and asked quietly, "You're not leaving, right?" I knelt in front of her and said gently, "No, I'm here." She hugged me tightly. In that moment, something deep inside me healed. Word travels in strange ways. Someone saw me with the twins at the park. Someone mentioned it to someone else, and eventually, it reached Brian. He called me one evening. I stared at the phone for a long time before answering. "Eliana?" he said. His voice sounded unsure. "I heard something. Is it true?" "Yes," I replied calmly. "I'm adopting twins." Silence. "Twins?" he repeated. "Yes." Another pause. "I didn't know you wanted children that badly," he said quietly. I closed my eyes. I always did, just not on conditions.
Months later, after the adoption was finalized, I ran into Brian again. This time, I was with Emma and Lucas. They held my hands as we walked into a small cafe. Brian stood up slowly when he saw us. He looked at them, then at me, then back at them. His face changed. Not anger, not jealousy, but shock mixed with realization. "These are your children?" he asked. "Yes," I said simply. "They look happy," he whispered. "They are," I replied. And for the first time, I saw regret in his eyes. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet.
After that day at the cafe, something settled inside me. Not relief, not victory, just clarity. Seeing Brian standing there, frozen, looking at Emma and Lucas, it felt like the final page of a chapter I had already finished reading. I didn't feel the need to explain myself. I didn't feel the urge to prove anything. My life had already spoken for me. A few days later, Brian asked if we could talk. Just talk. I considered saying no, not out of anger, but because I wasn't sure I needed it anymore. Still, I agreed. We met in a quiet park in the late afternoon. The sun was low, casting long shadows across the grass. People passed by, laughing, living their lives, unaware of the quiet history sitting on that bench. Brian spoke first. "I didn't think you'd ever want to see me again," he said. I looked ahead, not at him. I didn't know either. He nodded slowly. "I was wrong," he said. Not dramatically, not loudly, just honestly. I thought having children was about blood, about legacy, about proving something. He paused. I didn't understand that love doesn't always follow biology. I stayed quiet. Then he said something I didn't expect. "You lost me because I was afraid." That sentence stayed with me. For years, I had carried the weight of not being enough, not fertile enough, not complete enough. But sitting there, listening to Brian speak, I finally understood something clearly. His leaving was never about my body. It was about his fear of disappointment, his fear of explaining, his fear of not fitting the image he had built in his mind. And fear is a poor foundation for love. I turned to him then and said softly, "You didn't leave because I couldn't have children. You left because you couldn't sit with uncertainty." He looked down. "I think you're right," he said. I didn't forgive him in that moment, not because I couldn't, but because forgiveness doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need a speech. It grows quietly when the heart is ready. "I don't hate you," I told him, "but I don't belong to you anymore." He nodded. "I can see that," he said. And for the first time, there was peace between us. Not reunion, not regret, just peace. Life with Emma and Lucas settled into a gentle rhythm. School mornings were busy but warm, backpacks by the door, shoes mixed up, breakfast half eaten. Evenings were my favorite. Homework at the table, soft music playing, questions about the world. Sometimes when I tucked them into bed, I would pause at the doorway and just watch them sleep. Not because I was afraid they would disappear, but because I was grateful they were here. I realized something important during those months. Motherhood did not arrive in my life the way I imagined, but it arrived exactly how I needed it. Not as proof, not as validation, but as connection. I was not a woman who failed to become a mother. I was a woman who became one differently, and that difference was not weakness. It was strength. There are nights when the house is quiet, not the lonely kind of quiet I once feared, but a peaceful one. Emma and Lucas sleep in their rooms now. One likes the door slightly open, the other wants the nightlight on. I walk softly down the hallway just to check on them, not because I doubt they are there, but because I still feel thankful every single time. Sometimes memories return. My marriage, the silence, the day Brian left. But they no longer hurt the way they used to.
They sit in my heart like old photographs, faded, still meaningful, but no longer sharp. I don't wish him harm, and I don't wish things had turned out differently, because if life had followed the plan I once begged for, I might never have met the children who call me mom today. What I learned about love. I learned that love is not proven by patience alone. It is proven by presence. Love stays when answers are unclear. Love does not walk away from uncertainty. Love does not demand proof from a woman's body. I spent years believing I was incomplete, but I wasn't. I was just becoming. If you are listening to this story and you feel forgotten, if someone walked away because you could not give them what they wanted, please hear me. You are not broken. Your value is not measured by biology, not by timelines, not by expectations placed on you. Life may surprise you, not loudly, not suddenly, but gently, in ways you never planned. Emma and Lucas were not my revenge. They were my reminder. A reminder that love finds its way, that family is built, not always born, that timing is wiser than our demands. I did not come back to prove anything. I came back whole. Sometimes people leave because they are afraid, and sometimes what breaks us is the very thing that leads us home, not to the past, but to ourselves. I no longer wait for apologies. I no longer explain my worth. I live, I love, and when my children run toward me at the end of the day, arms open, faces bright, I know I was never childless.